The sun poured into our cozy kitchen, reflecting off the well-used countertops and worn-out wooden table. Jake and I sat across from each other, absorbed in our morning routines. I thumbed through a cookbook, trying to find new recipes for the upcoming week, while Jake caught up on the latest news. Newspaper sprawled in front of him. "You remember my work event next weekend?" I began, breaking the comfortable silence. "It's that big fundraiser, the one I've been talking about for weeks." Jake, looking up with a thoughtful expression, responded, "Ah, the annual gala, right? With all your colleagues and their fancy dresses and tuxedos?" I chuckled. "Exactly that one. It's important to me, Jake. It'd mean a lot if you came, and not just for a brief appearance." His eyes twinkled as he teased. "Trying to show off your successful, charming husband, are we?" I playfully swatted his arm. "Oh, hush. You know it's not like that. But yes, it's crucial for networking, and having you by my side would give me a confidence boost." He nodded, taking a bite of his toast. "I promise I'll be there, by your side, throughout. Besides, it gives me a chance to see you dressed up, and I never pass that up." We both laughed at that, knowing full well he loved any excuse to get dressed up himself. Just then, his phone buzzed, diverting his attention. He read a message and sighed audibly. "My car's stuck at the mechanics again. I thought they'd have fixed it by now. This is going to mess up my whole day." Seeing his frustration, I quickly offered, "Why don't you take my car? I don't have any major plans today. Just some cleaning and maybe catching up on a book." He looked up, clearly surprised. "Are you sure, Alex? I don't want to leave you stranded." I pushed my car keys towards him. "I've got 2 legs and a whole neighborhood of friends. If I really need to, I'll find a way. Plus, Mrs. Henderson next door owes me a favor. I helped her with her garden last week, remember?" He smiled, relief evident on his face. "Thanks, love. You always know how to make things work. I promise I'll fill up the tank as a thank you." I grinned. "And maybe grab some of that ice cream I love on your way back?" He winked. "Deal." This simple exchange, a routine part of our daily life, unknowingly sowed the seeds for the tempest that was about to hit our lives. As soon as Jake left with the car, I went on a cleaning spree. The house needed some sprucing up, and there's no time like the present. I cranked up the volume of our old radio, letting the upbeat tunes fill our home. From scrubbing the kitchen counters to vacuuming the living room rug, the hours seemed to melt away. In the midst of my cleaning, I realized I'd missed our little indoor plants that needed watering. While attending to them, I noticed the framed photos on our shelves, documenting our years together. From our first camping trip, where Jake tried to set up a tent and failed hilariously, to our family gatherings where both our families mingled as one. It felt surreal how much we'd built together over the years. As I was lost in memories, I felt a sudden wave of anxiety. Glancing at the wall clock, I noted the time. It had been hours since Jake left, and I hadn't heard a word from him. Pulling out my phone, I checked for missed calls or texts. Nothing. Just as I was crafting a message to him, my phone rang, the screen showing unknown caller. Taking a deep breath, I answered, "Hello? Is this Mrs. Alex Williams?" The voice, firm and unfamiliar, sent a chill down my spine. "It is. Who am I speaking to?" "This is Officer Mitchell from the city police. I'm sorry to inform you there's been an accident involving a car registered in your name." My heart pounded loudly in my ears. "Jake, is he okay? Please tell me he's okay." "He's injured but conscious. You might want to come down here." I felt my knees weaken. "Where are you located? I'll be there immediately." The officer provided the location, trying to assure me it wasn't the worst-case scenario, but it did little to calm my racing mind. On the verge of tears, I rushed outside, desperately searching for a quick way to get to the crash site. Mrs. Henderson, the elderly lady next door and one of the kindest souls I knew, saw my distress. "Alex? What's wrong, dear?" "Jake, accident. I need to get there," I blurted, the words coming out all jumbled. Mrs. Henderson didn't miss a beat. "My grandson's car is here. Take it. Go." "I can't thank you enough, Mrs. Henderson," I managed to say as she handed me the keys. "You bring that boy back safe and sound, and let me know if you need anything." I nodded, the weight of the situation hitting me as I headed towards the crash site, hoping and praying that everything would be all right. The accident scene was overwhelming. Traffic was diverted, emergency lights swirled, and curious onlookers whispered amongst themselves, their eyes locked on the site of the crash. As I parked and made my way towards the commotion, I tried to quell the panic that threatened to engulf me. A nearby officer noticed my distress. "Can I help you, ma'am?" My husband, Jake Williams, he was in the accident, I stammered. He guided me through the crowd to where Jake was. Seeing him with paramedics, a cut on his forehead and an arm in a sling brought both relief and concern. He was okay, but he wasn't unscathed. Jake! I rushed to his side. He tried to smile, his face pale. Hey, Alex, looks worse than it feels. I gently touched his cheek. What happened? Before Jake could answer, a man approached, extending his hand. Hi, I'm Tom. It was my car that collided with yours. Shaking his hand hesitantly, I responded, Are you okay? Just a few scratches, nothing serious. But I'm more concerned about your husband and the lady who was with him, Tom said, his eyes darting towards Jake. I looked at Jake, waiting for an explanation. Who was she? Jake sighed. She's a colleague from work. We had a meeting, and I offered her a ride home since it was on the way. Why haven't I heard about her before? My voice betrayed a hint of suspicion. It was just work. I didn't think to mention it. And with the car situation today, it just happened, Jake replied, trying to calm the brewing storm. Tom added, She seemed pretty shaken up after the crash. She took off even before the paramedics arrived. Thought it was strange. This revelation added more questions than answers. I frowned. Why would she run off? Jake shrugged. Maybe she panicked. I don't know. We all fell into an uncomfortable silence. The paramedics were preparing to transport Jake to the hospital for a more thorough checkup. As we prepared to leave, Tom, trying to make amends, said, I'll take care of the insurance and all. I should have been more careful. I nodded, my mind preoccupied with the mystery passenger and what that meant for our relationship. As the ambulance started up, I made a silent vow to uncover the truth, no matter where it led. After ensuring Jake was settled in his hospital room, my thoughts shifted to the DVR in our car. It was a relatively new addition, a birthday gift from Jake after I'd mentioned wanting one. The irony that this device might shed light on Jake's recent actions wasn't lost on me. I'll be back soon, Jake, I whispered, giving him a light kiss on the forehead. He seemed drowsy from the pain medication. Where are you going? He mumbled. Just need to sort out some things related to the car. I'll be quick, I reassured him. Heading back to the accident site, the tow truck was already loading our battered vehicle. Excuse me, I approached the driver. I need to retrieve something from the car. He looked me over, likely identifying me from my earlier presence at the scene. Sure, be quick. I nodded, opened the passenger side, and swiftly removed the DVR, hoping its contents remained intact. Back home, my hands trembled as I connected the device to our television. The first few clips were mundane, trips to the grocery store, a visit to my sister's house. But then I found the footage from earlier that day. It began innocently enough, Jake driving, occasionally switching radio stations. Then a woman entered the frame. Even from the side profile, I recognized her. It was Melissa, a coworker Jake had occasionally mentioned. Their conversation was casual at first. They discussed a project they were collaborating on, some office gossip. But as the journey continued, their chat became more personal. They laughed at shared memories, and Melissa reminisced about a fun night a few weeks ago. My heart sank further when the crash happened on the screen. I watched as Melissa, in a moment of panic, hugged Jake tightly and then planted a fleeting kiss on his lips before escaping from the scene. The weight of what I'd seen pressed down on me. Their relationship wasn't just professional. I felt betrayed, hurt, and unsure of what to do next. Taking a deep breath, I ejected the DVR and placed it in a drawer. Whether it was evidence of infidelity or just a friendly bond taken out of context, I needed to confront Jake. But for now, I needed some time alone to process everything. The sun shone a bit brighter the next morning, but its warm rays did little to alleviate the storm inside my heart. With every passing second, the DVR footage played in my mind over and over, but I wasn't going to suffer in silence. It was time everyone knew about Jake's deceit, especially those who believed in our perfect union. I started with Lucy, my oldest and dearest friend. Our history stretched back to our school days, long before Jake entered the picture. Lucy, I began as soon as she picked up, I'm having a get-together at our place tonight. Jake's coming home from the hospital. She sensed the unease in my voice. Alex, what's wrong? Why the sudden party? Just come over, I urged. There's something you need to see. Next, I phoned Jake's family. His mother, always so warm towards me, was delighted. That's a wonderful idea, dear. We've all been so worried. I could hear Jake's father in the background. Make sure there's beer, he shouted jovially. Even Michelle, Jake's overbearing sister, was pleased. It's about time you did something right for my brother. she remarked snidely. Throughout the day, I busied myself with preparations. There was food to be cooked, wine to be chilled, and a living room to be rearranged for the night's entertainment. By the time guests began arriving, our home was filled with the tantalizing aroma of roasted chicken and baked goods. Jake, having been discharged earlier, walked in to find our house bustling with activity. He looked surprised, yet pleased. "What's going on?" he asked, a small smile forming on his lips. I forced cheeriness into my voice. "Just a small gathering to let everyone see that you're all right." He leaned in, kissing my forehead. "You're full of surprises." Lucy, who had been watching from a distance, approached us. "Glad to see you up and about, Jake," she said, though her eyes were questioning as they met mine. The evening progressed, filled with light-hearted banter and the clinking of glasses. Michelle was, predictably, the loudest, sharing stories of Jake's childhood, much to his embarrassment. The laughter and chatter provided a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. As dinner ended and people moved to the living room, I knew the moment had come. "I've got something to show everyone," I announced, holding the DVR remote. Jake looked puzzled. "What's this about, Alex?" I pressed play without answering. The room fell silent, save for the video's audio. As the scene with Melissa played out, gasps filled the room. Jake's face turned ashen, realizing what was happening. As the video ended, Lucy broke the silence. "Alex, what was that?" Jake, flustered, tried to interject. "It's not what you think." The room was abuzz with whispers, and all eyes were on the two of us. The stage was set for Jake to finally explain himself. The weight of the truth descended heavily on the room, muffling the chatter that had once filled it with joyful noise. Stunned faces looked from the now silent screen to Jake, their expressions ranging from shock to disappointment. Lucy, forever the anchor in my life, was the first to voice her confusion, her eyes darting between Jake and me. "Alex, why would you show this? What's happening?" Jake, sensing the rising tide of questions and accusations, tried to take control of the narrative. "Listen, everyone, it's not what it seems. Melissa just needed a ride. The hug, the kiss, it was just in the heat of the moment after the crash." Michelle, eyebrows furrowed and usually so critical of me, looked distraught. "Jake, you're not making sense. First the rumors, and now this? Why would she even be with you in the first place?" He looked down, searching for words. "It was a work thing. We got close. But it wasn't serious. It was just a one-time thing." Jake's mother, Mrs. Anderson, a pillar of grace and kindness, looked shattered. "Oh, Jacob," she murmured, her voice tinged with disbelief. "This isn't like you. You and Alex, you were the ideal couple." His father, Mr. Anderson, a man of few words, had a deep frown etched on his face. "Son, you need to explain everything. This isn't just about you two anymore. It's about the family." Sarah, Jake's younger cousin, who had idolized him, looked close to tears. "Jake, why? Alex has been nothing but kind to all of us." Jake, increasingly desperate, replied, "I made a mistake. I don't know how it spiraled this far." Lucy tightened her grip on my hand. "Alex, I've known you both for years. You two were inseparable, the perfect team. Whatever this is, it needs to be dealt with." I took a deep breath. "I know, Lucy. I thought we were strong, that nothing could break us, but now, I don't know." Amid the murmurs and discussions, Michelle walked over, her demeanor softer. "Alex, I'm so sorry for the way I've treated you, and to think my brother was doing this, I was wrong about you." The room was thick with a mix of empathy, regret, and unanswered questions. It was evident that our relationship had changed in the eyes of everyone, and the path ahead would be an uphill one. After the eventful evening, the house was filled with an uncomfortable silence. Some relatives had decided to leave, wanting to avoid any more drama, while others stayed, trying to offer comfort, or simply too shocked to move. I retreated to our bedroom, wanting some time to myself, but Lucy followed. She sat next to me on the bed, placing an arm around my shoulders. "Alex, are you okay?" I sighed deeply. I thought I was prepared for whatever came next, but seeing everyone's reactions, it just made it all too real. Lucy hesitated, then said, "There's something else you should know." I looked at her, my heart racing. "What?" She took out her phone, opening Melissa's social media profile. There, in her recent uploads, was a picture of a hand with a very familiar watch. Lucy pointed. "I noticed this earlier. It's Jake's watch, right?" Tears welled up in my eyes. "Yes, that's his watch. I gave it to him on our 5th anniversary." Lucy continued. This photo was taken in your bedroom, Alex. Look at the background. It's your dressing table. I was taken aback. How could he? Bringing her into our home, our sanctuary? It's a violation. There was a soft knock on the door. Michelle peeked in, her face pale. May I come in? I nodded, still trying to process everything. Michelle hesitated. I saw the photo Lucy's talking about. It's unmistakable. I'm so sorry, Alex. I had no idea Jake was capable of this. I replied, Neither did I. Michelle looked down. I spoke to him downstairs. He's remorseful, to say the least, but I told him he needs to come clean about everything. Lucy, ever the protective friend, asked, Do you want to confront him? I took a deep breath. Yes, but not now. I need time to think, to process everything. Michelle nodded. Take all the time you need. Just know that I'm here for you. We all are. The weight of the entire situation hung heavily. My trust was shattered, but the support from those around me, especially from unexpected quarters, provided a small solace. The morning sun filtered through the sheer curtains, casting muted shadows across the ornate living room. Soft melodies from a forgotten radio played in the background, clashing dramatically with the tension that was almost palpable. I stood at the entrance for a moment, gathering my composure. Jake was already there, fidgeting nervously, while Lucy and Michelle whispered in hushed tones at a corner. The chandelier above shone brilliantly, illuminating the room, but failing to dispel the gloom. Drawing a deep breath, I broke the silence. Jake, I've had a restless night, but I need every single detail now. He looked up, his face pale, shadows underlining his guilt-ridden eyes. Alex, it's complicated, but you deserve to know. Lucy snorted derisively. Complicated? Cheating on your wife is complicated? Spare us the theatrics. Jake shot back, clearly agitated. Lucy, this is between me and Alex. Stay out of it. Michelle, always the peacemaker, stepped forward. We're all involved now, Jake, but let's keep this civil. I nodded. She's right. Start from the beginning, Jake. Rubbing his forehead, Jake began. A few months ago, with all the pressure at work, Melissa was the one person who understood what I was going through. We were just friends at first, but things spiraled out of control. Lucy, unable to contain her anger, exclaimed, And you thought bringing her to your home was a good idea? Where's your respect, Jake? Michelle sighed deeply. Lucy's right. That's just unforgivable. Jake, close to tears, responded, I regret it every single day, every moment. But Melissa, she has this pull. It's not an excuse, but I felt trapped. Lucy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Oh, the trapped card. Classic. I intervened. Enough, Lucy. Jake, was our marriage ever real to you? Jake's voice broke. It was, Alex. It is. I made a terrible, terrible mistake. I can't change the past, but I'd do anything for a chance at redemption. Michelle, her eyes moist, said, Jake, some things once broken can't be mended. It's a hard truth. Lucy whispered, mostly to herself, We thought you were different, but you proved us wrong. Facing Jake, I stated with finality, I need to find happiness again. Away from all this. Away from you. I'm filing for divorce. Jake's plea was almost a whisper. Alex, if there's even a shred of love left, please reconsider. But my mind was made up. This isn't about love anymore, Jake. It's about self-worth. Lucy and Michelle closed in, their support evident. As I moved towards the door, I threw one last glance at the life I was leaving behind, a chapter closing, and a new one waiting to unfold.